Hello! Today's video is going to be on more special rights. So we've got a little bit harder special rights going on here today. But we're still going to do things the exact same way that we did on the easy special rights day. And that's all about starting by labeling your pattern piece. When I look at number 1, no angles are given to me besides my right angle. But I know when I see this indicator that means that this is an isosceles right triangle, which means it is a 45, 45, 90 special rights. So I start off by labeling my special rights pattern. Across from 45 is the S piece. Across from 45 is the S piece, and across from 90 is S root 2. I will always be given one of the sides, and I look to see what side that is. This is perfect. I am given S, which is the best piece of information I can be given. So I know that S is equal to 3 root 2. If I look at this side right here, this side is also S. That means that Y is equal to 3 root 2. I look at my hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is S times root 2. So I'm going to plug in my value for S. Remember what S is? S is 3 root 2. So this becomes 3 root 2 times root 2. This 3 root 2 is representing the S portion. So it's S times root 2. Okay, so we know that root 2 times root 2 is the square root of 4, which is just 2. So this becomes 3 times 2, and my X ends up being 6. I end up getting rid of that radical in the end. Number 2, I see right angle, I see 45. That means that this is 45 again. We start off by labeling that pattern. Across from 45 is S. Across from 45 is S. Across from right angle is S root 2. All right, we want to think about what we just did over here, because when I look at what I'm given S root 2 is equal to 8. The hypotenuse is normally something root 2 because it's S root 2. But I look at the last one and I ended up with my hypotenuse as a 6. And the way that I got rid of my radical was multiplying root 2 times root 2 because it created that perfect square. So my S times root 2, what times root 2 is going to give me 8? Well, I know it's going to have to be a root 2 because root 2 times root 2 is going to be 2. So what times 2 is going to give me 8? Well, that's 4 because 4 times 2 is 8. So this tells me that my S is 4 root 2. That's one way to think about it. Kind of walk through in your head, kind of get there. Or I can solve. I have that S root 2 is equal to 8. If I want to solve for S, I divide by root 2. So that ends up with S is equal to 8 divided by root 2. But we have to rationalize our denominator. So that gives me 8 root 2 over 2. And then I simplify, and you see that I end up at the exact same place as I did when I did it that way. So whatever method makes the most sense to you, go ahead and run with it. So S is 4 root 2. If I look over here, Y is S. Well, S is 4 root 2, so Y is 4 root 2. This side over here is also S, so X is also going to be 4 root 2. It's an isosceles right triangle, so remember my legs are going to be the same. So whatever this is the same. 4 root 2, 4 root 2, and when I take that 4 root 2 and multiply it by root 2, I end up with 8. So it's a little bit harder. My pattern's not as straightforward as it was yesterday, or when I'm solving my pattern, it's not as easy. All right, now we've got a 30, 90. Oh, that means that this has to be 60 because it's a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Across from 30 is L. Across from 60 is L root 3. And across from 90 is 2L. We look at the pattern piece that we're given, and I see here that I'm given L root 3 is 18 root 6. Again, same process as yesterday. It's just the algebra is going to be a little more difficult. What is L? L times root 3 is 18 times root 6. I want to solve for L. So just like we did before in the last one, I'm going to divide. I'm going to divide by root 3 so that I can isolate what L is. But this one's not as bad because I've got root 6 over root 3. Remember all that radical review we did? This is why. Root 6 over root 3, those are both inside the radical, so this simplifies to 18 root 2. That's what L is equal to. L equals 18 root 2. So right next to where we're solving right here, X is representing the L portion of my pattern. Well, we just found L was 18 root 2, so X is 18 root 2. The hypotenuse is 2 times L. If my L is 18 root 2, this is 2 times 18 root 2. That's going to give me 36 root 2. So Y is 36 root 2. We got more to go. Number 4, we see our 30, 90. That means that this is 60. Of course, we still start the same way. Across from 30 is L. Across from 60 is L root 3. Across from 90 is 2L. I look at the side that I'm given. Don't be tricked. When you see 2 root 3, don't trick yourself into thinking this is the L root 3 pattern. It's across from 30, so it's L, which is really nice. We have what L is. That's perfect. I don't have to solve for L because I was given L. Over here, Y is 2 times L. So 2 times 2 root 3. Here's my radical work. 2 and 2 are on the outside, so Y ends up being 4 root 3. Across from 60, this is L. My L is 2 root 3 times root 3 times root 3. Well, root 3 times root 3 is just 3. So we end up with 6 as X. X ends up being 6, and we ended up getting rid of our radical because of the root 3 times the root 3. All right, number 5. I see a 60, I see a 90. That means that this is 30. Across from 30 is L. Across from 60 is L root 3, and across from 90 is 2L. So this time, I am given that 2L is equal to 10 root 6. So this time I wasn't given L. Last time, even though L was a radical, I knew what L equals. If I don't know what L equals, my first step is to solve for L. Since it's 2 times L, I'm going to divide both sides by 2. That cancels. Now I know what L is. There's my radical work. 10 divided by 2 is going to give me 5 root 6. So I know that L is 5 root 6. This side over here is L, which means Y is 5 root 6. All right, now this is going to be the trickiest one we've had so far. It's L times root 3. Remember we just said that L was 5 root 6 times root 3. 6 times 3, that's the square root of 18, but we've got to break down that radical. This is the first time we've had to break it down after multiplying. So that becomes 5 times 3. We brought out that 3, that matched pair. The leftover of 2 is on the inside. That gives me 15 root 2. So X ends up being 15 root 2. All right, so same pattern. Step 1, label the pattern. Step 2, fill in your missing pieces once you know what L is. Remember, our special rights are all based on these applications of a square and an equilateral triangle. So in this one, if I want to find the perimeter of the square, remember the perimeter is all four sides added up. I'm just given the diagonal. But because this is a square, I know that these are 90. Oh, I bisected with that diagonal that was all in our quadrilateral unit. And you see that we have a special rights 45, 45, 90 triangle. That means that this is S, S, and S root 2. So S root 2 is equal to 10. Remember, if I'm multiplying by root 2 and I'm getting rid of the radical, that means that this needed to be a root 2 as well, because root 2 times root 2 is just 2. So I asked myself, what times 2 gives me 10? That's 5. So my S is 5 root 2. That means all sides of my square are 5 root 2. So my perimeter is 4 sides of 5 root 2. 5 plus 5 is 10, plus 5 is 15, plus 5 is 20. 4 times 5. We've got 20 root 2 as our perimeter. Last one. Find the altitude of the equilateral triangle. All right, so altitude, equilateral triangle, that means that all sides of my triangle are the same. The perimeter is 18. Well, if I have 3 equal sides, oops, my brain was thinking ahead. If I have 3 equal sides, that means each side is going to be 6. This side is 6, this side is 6. But when I drop that altitude down, it bisected that opposite side. So the whole thing is 6, but each part there is going to be 3. My job here is to find the altitude. This is 90. In an equilateral triangle, all angles are 60, but that angle got bisected with the altitude, and we see this 30, 60, 90 triangle created. If I'm trying to find the altitude, I just concentrate on half of that. We label our pattern. Across from 30 is S, across from 60 is S root 3, and across from 90 is, oops, I switched my letters. We use L's. It really doesn't matter what letter you use. I'm just trying to be consistent here. So L, 2L, and L root 3. All right, so the pattern we were given was the L piece, which is perfect. This is 2 times L, which we can see. Of course, 2 times 3 is 6. That matches up to what we had. Our altitude is L root 3. So the altitude ends up being 3 root 3. Okay, and that is it for today's video.